Good Friday morning, friends. Oh gosh, sometimes I struggle with the Friday Fire stuff because I like to see all of your faces. It's so important to me to get the feel for how people are receiving because I pick up on people's energy. So, anyway, all right. Um, I am so grateful you're here today. And if you're watching the replay, make sure you're commenting in the chats. Um, I actually am going to be toggling a little bit because I do want more feedback this go round. Because I think I was sad because on the last one where I was talking about peace, and then I didn't get to see all of the comments that were made. So I'm just going to start, but please use the chat to comment on anything that you're here. Oh, yes. Thank you, Christy, for putting something in the chat so that I know it's one, recording, two, that you can hear me. So, okay. So I'm going to be talking about mixed faith relationships today per the title. But one of the things that I wanted to share with you is the mixed faith relationship. Like, what does unconditional love look like, Christian or not? I feel like that was a really important title, because unconditional love is something everyone wants, right? So I just want to reiterate, this is a safe place to share openly. If you're in a mixed relationship yourself, then you make sure you know that this is a safe place where you can share parts of your story in the comments. You can reach out to me. You could reach out to any of the coaches, but if there's something specific you want to ask me based on my relationship with my spouse, who I'll get into all of that. But maybe it's you that's questioning your faith in your relationship. And I just wanted to reiterate, this next month and a half or next 2 months, the rest of this month and November, we as a team will be speaking on faith, and we're going to be going through different aspects. So I asked to go first because the rest of my month is a little bit crazy. And so I'm going to be sharing about my mixed faith relationship. But maybe you have a sibling or even a child that is going through a faith questioning. We're just going to call it a questioning because I don't like the word crisis or transition or anything like that. So just, it's just questioning your faith, or choosing to believe a different faith. Okay, so okay, yes. Thank you, Robin, for sharing. Yes, it's been me, and it's been me the one changing the ideas around theology that we both grew up with. Yes. So for me, I'll share a little bit of my story. My husband and I, we grew up in the same Christian religion, and I could kind of tell all along that he had struggles with maybe doctrinal stuff, right? And so, we would talk about things, but he would kind of just blow me off. And so, at some point, we had been discussing divorce, and we went to Europe to for our last ditch effort to save our relationship. And in that space, I had decided, I think that you really just need to get and decide what it is that you believe. I was kind of gearing him towards maybe you need to go to therapy. You need to figure out what you want and what you believe. Because I felt like he was kind of all over the place. He would say different things. And I remember being gosh, I feel like there's no consistency, no stability. So I felt my wounds coming up in that situation. So I decided on the after our Europe trip, I was coming home on the plane. I'm okay, planning on getting divorced when we get home. He just couldn't he just wouldn't open up and share what was really going on within him, which was him questioning his faith, him really deciding what he was believing, like all these things. So over the course of the next month, well, I read Emotion Code on the way home from Europe. Sorry, sometimes I get so excited and I talk really fast. So I'm going to calm myself down. Take a deep breath. So I read Emotion Code on the way home. It's a book by Dr. Nelson, and it talks about how we store emotions in our bodies. And I had a lot of emotions around my relationship because we'd been married for 16 years by that point. And I was just like, I just had a lot. So my parents, luckily, had been kind of already on this path of Emotion Code, and they're the ones that recommended the book. So I bought it. I took it on the trip. I didn't really read any of it till I was on the plane ride home and couldn't sleep. And so that helped me, and they helped me get on the path of releasing all this emotion. Well, over the course of the next month, I asked my husband to share with his family the direction that he was going within his faith. And he expressed to me, like, I don't think you understand the level of commitment within my family to this religion. They will disown me. And I sat with that, and I said, okay, let's just prepare for that, because your happiness is not more important than theirs. And I was done putting them on this pedestal and allowing them to control what was going on in our life. And I asked him, to just start being honest within himself. Like, be honest with yourself. Like, if you're unhappy in this situation, let's talk about it. Let's work through it. So, raise your hand, or I guess not raise your hand, like put in the comments if you've ever felt that much fear around questioning your faith, whether that's like a family dynamic, and maybe you don't want to share, and that's also okay. Just know that this is a safe place for you and that you're not alone going through this. As I talked to my husband, anyway, of course, it's difficult when you go through this relationship and you grow up together. Essentially, we were babies when we got married. Grow up together, and we like are figuring things out, right? I've just now asked him to step away from the religion because I knew it was making him miserable, and it was making me miserable. He would pick fights with me every single Sunday, and I would just be like, what in the world? Like, and so it was just really a difficult time in our life where I had been on a path of self-discovery, and I wanted the same thing for him, but it was holding him back, like from being his authentic self. And so I just asked him honestly, like, is this something you're willing to do? And he was like, I don't know how to proceed forward because my family will disown me. So we prepared for that. And one day, as I was, going through, because all these thoughts start running through my head, right? Like, what is this going to mean for our kids? What is this going to mean for his salvation? What's this going to mean for my salvation, right? Like, I had all these thoughts. And as I was walking with my daughter one day, who was 2 at the time, and I was walking with her, and I was praying so hard, help me, help me understand. Help me see him differently. Help me to feel that compassion and love that he is seeking so deeply within this relationship, right? And as I just started walking, I like looked up at the sun, put my face in the sun, just praying to God. And I felt this overwhelming sense of unconditional love that it's still like, I don't know if you can see the tears in my eyes, it still chokes me up. I got a little glimpse of how my Father in heaven, of how God feels about my husband. And I was given the most beautiful gift of feeling that love that he has for him no matter what. No matter the choices he makes, his worth is there. And I know I've expressed this before. Our worth is always there. You just have to claim it. And I was just given this beautiful, beautiful gift that helped me to stay in my relationship, to fight for my relationship, to know that God loves my husband, whether he chooses him or he doesn't. And I would receive that he may accept it in this lifetime or he may not. And it may be in the next life. And I believe there's an afterlife. My husband thinks that heaven is here on earth and he's going to do everything he can to live out his heaven here right now. And I think that that's beautiful, right? So just recognizing that there is availability for you to feel unconditional love for the people in your life that question. So, all right, I'm going to get back to my notes. Let's use the chat here. What do you feel is unconditional love? Like, what are some things that when you hear the words unconditional love, what comes to your mind? Yep, Megan says God loves everyone, whether they choose him or not. Yes, yeah, essentially he does. Um, okay, I love Nancy's thought. Okay, I have had much fear in embracing my faith and my family members who mock faith. Ooh, that's good. We'll get to that one. Because it can be right on the opposite side where if you have this strong faith and you have family members who openly mock you, right? That can also be difficult on the other side. um Megan said, helps me to understand, help me to see him differently. Yes. So she's sorry, you're quoting me. Sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, okay. Yes, Robin, no requirements. Christy, love without judgment. Heather, you love them no matter what, and you don't place judgment on them. Elizabeth, the relationship may change, but the amount of love stays or grows. Yes. Okay. So I Googled it and it says unconditional love is the type of love that is given freely without conditions or expectations of repayment. It means that you love someone for who they are with no strings attached when you love them no matter what. And I love those. So one of the things that for me on this side of having a mixed faith relationship is I felt somewhat responsible for my husband's salvation, my partner's salvation, because I was taking ownership of his spirituality, right? Because I'm tied to him. I am like concerned about my salvation because of his choices, right? Because we are tied together, we're married, and we want what's best for them. And we think that we know sometimes, right? There's good intentions there, but we like as we go through, we're like, okay, I have good intentions in my mind, but really that is me taking away my husband's agency. And God is a God of agency. So when we step in and we think we know better than someone else, is that unconditional love? We're stepping on their right to choose. And we're trying to become their savior in a sense. And we already have a savior. His name is Jesus Christ. And he's already atoned for all of us, right? and that this can be applied to everyone. This can be applied to husbands, parents, siblings, children, neighbors. Like everyone has their agency. And so there was a part of me that would judge my husband for what I call lack of belief. So he claims agnostic. You don't know what that is. It's essentially that he thinks maybe there could be a higher power. He doesn't know, and he's okay not knowing. He's just good to just go with whatever, right? And so, I mean, even as we talk, I wouldn't say he's like atheist where he doesn't believe in God at all. He used to do yoga religiously. So he believes in a lot of like light and darkness and contrast, like to opposition of all things, right? So he does have a belief system. But at the time, I was just like, no, you just don't believe what I believe. So therefore, you don't have beliefs, right? Like, I'm not necessarily proud of how I reacted in the beginning, but as we've been able to work together and progress through this relationship, he's been out of the religion for 7 years now. It's helped me to learn and grow as we've gone along, and he called me out on it. He said, "You think you're better than me because of your beliefs." And I sat with that for a minute and I couldn't deny it. I was like, if you know me, you know, I'm just like, okay, if I pause and I'm quiet for a minute, it's really me internalizing. And I took responsibility for that and I took ownership of it. And I said, you're right. There is a part of me that does feel like I am better than you for my beliefs. And I got to work on it, right? I got to work on it. I got to then sit with that and be like, oh, wow, like I do have some judgment there, right? So I love that Heather McCafferty said that, like, you love them no matter what, and you don't place judgment on them. And each time that I struggle with my husband, I go back to that moment in the sun every time. And I go back there and I sit in that space and I just feel that complete head to toe warmth envelop me all over again, right? And I get that glimpse of of who my husband was before he came here, because that's what I believe, and who he will be after. I got a glimpse of that in that moment. And so anytime I start to be like all up in my story and all up in I get to go back to that unconditional love that I felt in that moment. And that's where it's so powerful to have that unconditional love. And again, I'm definitely not perfect. Okay. So if you are having like an internal reaction, I want you to stop and pause and take a deep breath with me. And ask yourself the question, what's coming up for me right now? And there's another question I have that I would like for you guys to share in the chat is what do we think our belief systems, or why do we think our belief systems are the only ones that are true? Like at any point, if you've been in a space like I have been in the past, I literally, to my core, was like, this is my belief system. No one's going to change my mind. Why did I think that? Like, why did I think that that I had the truth, right? What are some of the responses that you guys have received in the past? Okay. Going back, Megan said, unconditional love has such a hard concept. It has been such a hard concept for me to truly understand and accept. You aren't alone, Megan. You're not alone. Okay. So some of the things that I've asked around. I've talked to several people. I've talked to my spouse. I've listened to so many podcasts. Being in this space, I have my husband knows he can openly share with me. So he'll send me podcasts, he'll send me reels, he'll send me different things of things he wants me to understand and know. But I think for me, what it came down to, and again, it was the fear of the unknown. Will they try to sway me to their side? If we don't feel very solid in our beliefs, then we want other people, we want others to feel the comfort that we receive through what we believe, right? So my husband, as he shared with me, he's like, why do you need to believe in God and Jesus Christ? And I was like, okay, let me explain this to you, right? I said, I would rather, this is me, again, my beliefs, I would rather receive comfort here on earth, believing that there is a higher power, that Jesus Christ exists, that he atoned for my sins, and die, and none of it's true, because I'm receiving what I need here, right? I'm receiving the comfort I am seeking here, than the other way around. And he just was like, okay, well, I don't need that. And I'm like, okay, great. Like, right? So we can sit in the discomfort of being in a space with somebody who believes so differently. And it's okay. Like I can sit firm in my beliefs and also be willing and open to his thoughts and ideas. Whereas when this first started, I was like a brick wall. I was like, you're not getting through here. My testimony is solid. This is what I believe. Like, and I felt like if I was strong enough and firm enough in my beliefs, that it actually was benefiting our relationship. But in a lot of ways, it was blocking both like the give and receive, right? Cycle. It was blocking me from glowing and being the bright light and love being that I want to be. It was blocking that from being able to get out because I was so set on my belief systems that I wasn't allowing the open, the flow, the acceptance, the love that he was seeking from me. Okay, so Heather says, because we are taught that when we're children, right? That you're taught not necessarily to question what you believe. Megan said, I think my identity was really tied to my beliefs, and I was taught that our family's way was the right way. Yes. Megan also said, I know fear has been a big part for me in being activated when others challenge my beliefs or lived their belief systems um, differently than me. Different can seem scary and wrong at times, yes. As I'm learning or as I'm leaning towards compassion and unconditional love, I find myself softening and not going right to defense or offense. Yes, Megan, I love that. I love that comment so much. Because that's the truth. The more that I lean into loving unconditionally and softening and being open to hearing out other people and their beliefs, doesn't mean it necessarily changes my belief systems, but it can help me to have more compassion and love for them. Okay, so what makes us like fear other people's beliefs or religion? I think that was kind of already answered a little bit. But fear of what we don't know or understand. We've witnessed harm from others in the name of religion. And what I mean by that is if you know, were witness to 9/11, right? The religion, Muslim religion, Osama bin Laden, he was essentially claimed Muslim religion, right? So maybe we have witnessed other religions like that have caused harm, but we don't know. I mean, there's millions of Muslims in the world. We don't see that same pattern repeating itself over and over and over, right? So it's maybe a misunderstanding. We've witnessed something like a 9/11 where in the name of religion, right? So there's the fear of what we don't know. We've witnessed it. Um, and like growing up in a religion, in one religion my entire life, I didn't seek outside of that for so many years. And then as my husband started exploring different things, um, I also was introduced to several women through one of my communities who were Christian. They were non-denominational Christian. And I felt comfortable and confident enough with them to ask them what they believed. And I was impressed by a lot of the similarities that we had. And also, I was impressed by a lot of the different belief systems that they had in Christianity, right? So as I felt comfortable and confident in asking them a lot of questions. I also read the book Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty, which I have seen Jay Shetty live, and he has an incredible aura. And if you know what I mean by that, it's like your energy system. He has this beautiful energy. It's just incredible. He had joined a monastery like a monk. He became a monk for several years of his life in Buddhism. And so I started listening to his book. I listened to his podcast. I started reading different things, not just about Buddhism, but Hinduism and Taoism. And my husband encouraged me to read the book. Oh my gosh, now it's just totally slipped my mind. It's about Winnie the Pooh, and it's about Taoism. Anyway, so I started to take on some of their practices, and I love that they call them practices. I thought that was so great. I like, oh, these are practices that I can pick up, right? And so I was just so fascinated that I began to adopt some of those things in my life, like meditation and visualization and reciting written prayers. That was something I had never done before. I began to learn about different gods, including feminine goddesses that I had never heard of before. And I started to identify with some of them. I'm like, oh my gosh, the goddess Kali, are like, she's incredible. Like, anyway, Mary Magdalene is another one that I feel is a feminine goddess, that she's a priestess and that I didn't fully understand or know about, that I have been able to really do a deep dive in. And I just adore her. I love her so much. And so I began to open up and start exploring more. So here's one of the things that I have not shared openly and as yes, thank you. The Tao of Pooh. Yes, I knew someone would know. Thank you, Cami. Um, so one of the things that as I started to open up, that I haven't really shared a lot about, is it is because of this. It is, I give full credit to my husband stepping out and really exploring himself and getting to that authentic core of himself, that it allowed me to do the same. And I am forever grateful for that, because I don't know that I would be in this space if it wasn't for him doing what he did, because it was his ability to explore and to look outside of himself that really helped me to feel safe and comfortable to do the same. And if you need a safe place to explore through faith, what that looks like, whether that you're on this side or you're on the other side, because I've gone through both, it's okay. This is a safe place for you. And I promise you, no one here will judge you. And you can reach out to any of the coaches and we will sit with you and hold you in that space. There's not enough sacred spaces in this world that you can do that. And we talk a lot about that in the EMX and the paid client program, where we hold people and we give them space to allow them that time to do what they need to do and to research what they need to research and have that safe place where they can talk through it. Okay, so going back to um, okay, so how another question for the comments, if you feel directed. How do we give unconditional love to others who are different from us or believe differently than we do? And I'm just going to teach some skills here because, again, I feel like my experience is what makes it so I can stand here and speak today. But how do we give unconditional love to others who are different from us or believe differently than we do? What are some of your experiences? Like, I really would love to hear. Robin, yes, our expansion, shining our light freely sheds more light for others to have the opportunity to feel more light. Yes, amen. Thinking the light can only be one specific type or of candle or source. That's a scarcity belief. I agree. Yes, thank you, Robin. Heather McCafferty, have an open mind and actively listening. Yes, that's the top of my list. Be open to listening without judgment. Hear them out. Hear their story. Ask what's going on with them, right? Like really sitting and listening without judgment and without interruption. Allow them to have that time in the space to do that. And as I said before, create a safe place for them to openly share things with you. Like, I love it when my husband sends me podcasts or reels or, listen to this or this explains this that might help you understand me at a deeper level. And I love it because I do feel like our relationship has expanded and grown through that space. Have compassion and love for what they're going through. It is not easy to question your faith. It is not easy. As Megan said, it's a shift in identity a lot of times for people. It literally can feel like they're shifting out of an identity that they've had for so long, like taking off a mask that they've been wearing. That's literally how I felt with my husband. It was like watching him just take off this mask that he had been wearing his whole life and feeling free for the first time in his life to really be open to what he wanted to believe about whatever. Megan said, this space has been a place where I can ask the hard questions that I have resisted for so long. I have been able to slowly let go of the judgment I have felt of exploring my beliefs and loving those who have different beliefs. Thank you, Megan, for sharing that. Um, for me, it's like I shared this before, but learning to sit in the discomfort of any disagreement around what we might have, whether it's religion, politics. We get to drop the expectations that we have for others and let God take care of them and their timeline. Misty always says God is a God of pursuit. And if we stop trying to push the people to God and allow God to do what needs to be done for them and their timeline, then God is a God of pursuit and he will take care of them and we just get to allow that. We can be cautious when we use words like lost souls or delusional or led astray or being misguided. Like we can avoid using those words when we refer to talking about people who believe differently than we do. That has been such a hard thing for so many people. So I want to encourage you to caution against using those types of words and language because it just makes them feel less than. And that was something that somebody reached out to me in this community and said, I feel like people think I'm this lost soul because I am questioning what I'm going through. they are questioning me. Oh, you're just being lost, which isn't necessarily true, right? Like questioning does not mean you're lost. It means that you're willing to dig in, willing to crack open, willing to like dig deep to find your truth. And again, I'm coming back to that word. It's your truth and what you know. And that comes based on your experiences in life, your spiritual experiences that you've had. It comes back to the things that you believe, that you want to believe. Like I said, it brings me comfort to know that God exists, that there is a higher power. I believe in a heavenly mother, that there is a God that is both male and female, and maybe both. Maybe they coexist. I don't know. I'm open to knowing some things. I loved Robin's post. If you've not read that on Facebook, I loved that because Robin, I haven't shared that with you, but I said that to Christy Garcia the other day as we were talking. I was like, I don't know. I'm open to like recognizing that God could be male and female, could be two beings, could be one. I don't know. I'm open though. I'm open to being aware of different beliefs, and I'm okay with that. I'm like, okay, that is a possibility. So if you haven't read Robin's post, go read it because it really was like eye-opening. And I love that she said that her husband was like, no, he thinks that this is how it is. And they get to sit with that, right? And it's beautiful. I think a lot of religions teach that contention is of the devil. Like, so if you're sitting in contention or confrontation or anything like that, that is a negative energy. But really, it's just being able to sit in that discomfort. It's a skill. It's a skill you get to learn. It's an emotional maturity that you get to learn, and we talk a lot about it in the EMX program, but it's a skill you get to learn, and how to sit in the discomfort of confrontation, of contention, of difference of beliefs. So, Nancy, gently staying in the messiness of it. Yes, gently. I love that. Ooh, that's a beautiful word. Robin says, in this group, we are Christians. Christ's life record shows us the way. Here, he never forced us, never shunned, only loved, always was fully himself, invited others to share space, yet didn't judge if they didn't. No shame. Yes, and I'm going to get to that. Um, I love that. Thank you guys so much for participating in the comments. So, Megan said, I think as we truly listen, it can create a space of feeling safe for the other person, a space of being seen and heard safely. Oh gosh, sorry guys. Safety can help people open up and be vulnerable. Vulnerability helps us with connection. Amen. Vulnerability does help us with connection, and connection is really what every human on this planet needs. Okay, so everyone has their own path. If you are on the other side of things and you're like, people don't understand me, they don't get me, we don't need anyone to save us, and we don't have to save anyone else because that's Jesus's job, right? And we can turn those people over to him because he left the 90 and 9 to go find the one. And I personally believe that it all works out in the end, regardless of whatever any other religion teaches us. I believe it all works out in the end. Again, that's my belief. I'm not trying to like push my beliefs on you. I get to state my beliefs too. Okay, it's important to view differences as strengths. So for a long time, I would worry, I would say this out loud to my husband in my worried state, that his lack of beliefs and differences would negatively impact our children's lives. And he and I read a book. It's called The Awakened Family. Now I can't think of the author all of a sudden. It's on my bookshelf up there. The Awakened Family. Anyway, we read the book together, and it's a book that talks about a family who sees their strengths as important. Each person in the family, their beliefs, their strengths are not to create dissonance within the family, but actually, if we view them as strengths, it can help build your family together. Okay, so it actually has helped our family be more well-rounded. I talk very openly about my beliefs with my children. I share with them the experiences I've had with my parents on the other side. I openly talk about God and how He's created everything. Like I share, and I invite my husband to do the same. We have different beliefs around, Christmas time that we share with our kids, and it actually has helped them to be more well-rounded. Both of my kids, my older two kids, choose to attend church, the church that I grew up in. They choose that for themselves. My son didn't, we stopped going as a family in 2020 when the world shut down. And my son just started going back last year, and he's 16 now. Like he gets to choose for himself, and we talk openly about it. And I ask him, making sure he's doing it for himself, right? So I actually feel like it has helped my children to be more well-rounded and accepting and loving of those who choose not to attend, right? Like they're not going to church and being like, oh, my parents are at home, like sinning or whatever, right? It's they get to choose and they get to stand firm in my parents are good people and they're just doing their best, right? And I love that for my kids that they have that. Um, yeah. Uh, Megan just said she loves Robin's post too. Yes. And yes, abundance flows where we are open for the flow. Thank you, Robin. That was a beautiful additive. Okay, so ask yourself these questions. Can I open my mind to seeing things differently? And this concept can be applied to anything, by the way. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with them. It doesn't mean you have to even change your beliefs. But can I view things from another person's perspective without taking it personally? Can I view them from God's eyes? Can I take a zoom out? This is apparently my new thing. Everyone quotes me on. Sharee's always like, zoom out. Can you zoom out and look at it from a different perspective? Can you look at things from a broader view? Because we all have our own spiritual path. And I encourage each of you to pray and seek answers to the questions that you have within yourself. Because everyone gets to feel the Spirit differently. Don't judge yourself if you're not receiving the answers in the way that you want, in the time frame that you want. Just keep an open mind on how those answers might come. I'll share a quick story. I was talking with my sister this morning before I got on here, and she had attended a conference where she was learning how to muscle test because she's really struggled with muscle testing. And so she went to this conference and she really, really struggled the first day. And she prayed and prayed and prayed that the next day she would meet somebody at this conference that she could sit by that would help her, that would be easier to muscle test on, like that would, assist her. She found the perfect person, right? And sometimes it's through another person that our prayers are answered. But if we are closed off to receiving those answers, and my sister, she just joyfully shared, like, oh my, he was an answer to my prayers, like he helped me, like, and she was able to sit and feel more comfortable and more confident in her abilities. And he helped her get a name for, she decided she's going to open her own wellness center. And she's like, I found the answer to my business name. Like and I could feel the excitement behind what she was saying and how that prayer has been answered. She's like, I have been praying for a year to know whether I should open my own business. I've been praying for a year to know the what name. And she's like, I knew it had something to do with like sunlight or light or, and it's going to be in light and wellness. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, yay. Like, and so I'm so excited for her, right? But it's those things that she was judging herself. Like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I receive these answers? Why am I struggling in this? But it's usually through another person that our prayers are answered. And it could simply be someone in the grocery line. You're just standing there and you're just like, you've been praying about something and you overhear someone say a word. And that's all it takes. And all of a sudden you have this download, whoop, from God. Okay. Everyone receives answers differently. There's different spiritual gifts. You might have gut instinct. You might audibly hear something. You might just have something pop in your head that you don't even know where it came from. You might actually see something in vision. Okay. There's so many various ways and that people can receive the Spirit. So I know a lot of religions teach it's a feeling, right? And some people don't receive answers to their prayers through feeling. They just don't. So don't judge it. Be open to receiving how their life is, right? And I've talked to my son about this too. Like, how have you felt? Like, what spiritual experiences have you had? And he's like, I don't know that I've necessarily had any. I was like, okay, great. Like, and we talk about things, and I was like, well, how did you feel about that? Well, I felt like I shouldn't have done that. I'm like, okay, like gone down this like alley or something, right? Oh, I told my friends I was not going down that alley. Like it didn't feel safe to me. And I was like, yay, like that to me is like a win, right? Like that's the Spirit speaking to him, even though he didn't necessarily acknowledge it, right? Okay, so yeah, it was a really cool story I got to hear first thing today. And then Robin says, I love this. Yes, the insights from others help us so much. I want to know all the things everyone knows and the story that brought them to that knowledge. Yes, thank you. Found so much language for what I've experienced in life that didn't exist in my nuclear family and culture when I openly listen to others without listening to respond. I love that. I love the feeling of expansion and progression and the ease that it brings. Yes, I love that. Thank you, Robin. Okay, and the last thing that I want to share, oh gosh, see, I need to be better about the time. I know it can feel difficult to love someone who is different from you, but Jesus's mission was to teach all those around him to love one another. If you are the one who's currently questioning your faith, again, I want you to know that you're not alone and that you may feel very misunderstood by those around you. But I believe that Jesus felt very misunderstood in this life by the Pharisees, by others, but he never wavered from his mission to bring about a new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. And by this shall men know that ye are my disciples, if ye have love one to another. And that's John 13:34 and 35. And I truly believe that with all of my heart. As we come to radiate the love and the light in this world, it's my daily prayer every day that I just sit in meditative state in love and light. And I'm sending you all love right now and peace to keep moving forward on your own spiritual path and getting out of the story that you're telling yourself that your husband or your child or whoever in your life, that you are somehow responsible for their spiritual path, because you're not. All you need to do is just love them. That is the only thing that God has asked you to do, that Jesus Christ asked you to do. So thank you guys so much for the comments, the love, the support. We're going to be heading over to the EMX group for a Q&A and the deeper discussion. And so we're going to see our clients in the other space. I'm so grateful that you all came Thank you so much. None of you are alone in this space, and we love you.